So hello everyone, this is the Sports Show podcast and today I'm joined with Séan McCormac. How are you, mate?
Doing great, mate. What a
Brilliant,
great week. So it was there.
brilliant, mate. So we'll just get straight into it. What got you into fighting?
What got me into fighting? Was playing Gaelic and a lot of other sports, and kind of just love the physicality of things. It's something that's always been like deeply surrounding my family. My father, he was like a great kickboxer, so he was a world champion, fought all his youth. Loads of our family members have past experience in fighting, and it's just something naturally I was always drawn to. I was just drawn to the all aspects of it. First, the physicality, the combat, testing yourself against someone in that one-to-one combat, and then also the showmanship side to it. The entertainment factor and stuff as well. Putting on a show for your fans. Fighting like there the past week, fighting for your nation and stuff. It's just an unbelievable feeling.
Yeah, yeah. And was it always your ambition to become professional whenever you started then doing MMA? Was it always, is that what you wanted to do?
Yeah, as soon as I actually went over and watched McGregor, and I watched him against Chad Mendes, and I said I was just there for the whole fight week. I was there for the build up to it, for the fight, for his walkouts and all, and I just had a conversation with myself. I says, you know what, I'd been doing wee bits in and out of boxing and Gaelic, and I said that's the sport I want to do there. And I'm one of these people that like I don't think I could probably I don't know if I could go do it, and not try to give it my all and not try to be the best at it, because it's such a brutal sport. Fair play to people who go and put the time in, and do it as a hobby because it's absolutely brutal on your body, on your mind. You're getting beat up all the time, so why wouldn't you want to be the best at it? So then no one can beat you up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And the next question would have been, you had a good amateur career, so do you think that would have had an impact on your decision to go professional? But obviously if it was your ambition to go pro anyway, that would have had a big impact anyway.
Yeah, no, definitely. Your amateur career completely steers the way. The wins and losses. The Irish MMA scene is incredible. Like the amateurs coming through. You go to any club show, like you're like flip. You wouldn't even know. Compared to maybe across the water, it's a bit more diluted over there in terms of like how many people they have. While here, it's just killers row coming through the amateurs. So I had a great amateur career. I didn't have that many fights. I only had 4 fights. Three of them were done within 4 minutes, and I only went the distance once. Um, they were quite short fights, and they only have four, and then go into your pro career. But that's where you have your coaches, and you trust in the process of then turning you pro. That's why up at Fight Academy Ireland, it's Pat and Shando who make the decision to turn you pro, and they'll only do that when you're ready. So when they came to me and said we have this opportunity to turn you pro for the Fela, I just had to jump at it. It's a compliment from them that they trust your body of work and the effort you've been putting in.
Yeah. And then you made your pro debut then, as you said there at the Fela, the Falls Park in Belfast.
Mm-hmm.
How is it to fighting your home country? Do you enjoy it with
Uh,
your mates and everything there?
oh yes, I love it. There's only so many of these you're going to get. For example, obviously, I just went across the water and competed. There's only so many times you're going to be able to fight in front of your friends, your family, your day ones. And it's something I've always like. I'll always go out to put a show on, enjoy the walkout, make sure to put the hands up to the crowd, make sure to like get the crowd involved, because there's not many times you're going to get to do this. You're going to have to go across the water, when there's bigger and better things. So fighting in the field was absolutely amazing. It was a surreal experience. The whole thing of it. Warming up back in the first crowd, driving up through Falls Park in this wee Hummer, getting dropped off behind this massive stage. Like you were like, what is going on? That's not usual with fighting. Like Cage Conflict put on an absolute show along with the feel of there. Like that is something you'll probably never see again. I know we see the boxing every year, but you see it in a different setup. That fighting on a big stage in front of 4,000 odd people was a surreal experience. I loved every second of it. I know there were some people who that moment probably overwhelmed them, but I just love that. I love that stuff.
Yeah. And then your second professional fight, then you lost, unfortunately. But how much
Yeah.
did you want to bounce back from it? Because we've seen then that you did
Uh,
bounce back from it.
yeah, well, it just, every time you take a loss, even with a win in MMA, you'll always come out of there going, flip me, I need to do this better, I need to do that better. Like I've learned an absolute abundance from my last fight, and that was a win. and I'll continue to look back at that fight and pick it apart. The loss as well, there's obviously factors that play into that, and every fight, every moment can change, and that was a good back and forth fight and a hard 9 minutes of fighting, a real high pace with a really big guy who was had both power, but he was also very technical on the ground, so he brought interesting things. It just made me reevaluate my training. I don't hang on the losses too much. There's great lessons to be learned from them, but in terms of actually, it's just one of those sports. It's one of those sports where everything's on the line. You go from the highest highs to the lowest lows, and with a loss, there's no point getting caught up in it too much because I'm still learning on the job. That was only my sixth fight. And as an MMA fighter, which is crazy to think of, you're in your second pro one, and there was the third pro one, only a seventh fight. I'm still getting the minutes in. I'm kind of learning on the job, and I think I'm doing a good job at that, as well. I'm actually glad to be out of that. Never say never. I could end up fighting on a cage conflict again, but I'm actually happy to be out of the smaller cage now with these these local guys who are just big, like just want to grab and smart. There's no real technique to it. That guy, he did have some good ground game, but on the feet he was just grab, and the smaller cage helped him. So there's lessons learned from that fight as always, but just made me get the head down and work harder. I love proving people wrong, because I seen it this week. Everybody's writing to you, they're so buzzing for you. The support's amazing. I love that, but I've also been on the other end, where you lose and you maybe only got 2 or 3 people writing to you, hard luck. That's the way the sport is.
Yeah. And then you were supposed to be fighting our cage conflict a few weeks back, but then Cage Warriors ended up coming calling for you, but it's obviously an opportunity not to be missed.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. So I was over in Thailand for a few weeks there, getting training in, and just got back, best shape of my life. Just everything was going well. Was into the week of the weight cut, but just at middleweight, I got the weight down so nicely that it didn't really need to cut that much weight. So I was going through the weight cut anyway. I think it was on the Wednesday. I got a phone call and they said the fight was off, but that it was kind of we've got good news and bad news.
Yeah.
The fight's off, but there's an opportunity here that you could be fighting on Cage Warriors, so just keep working. So I kept working anyway. Had to go get medicals and bloods and eyes done. Had to get set up with safe MMA. So there was a wee week there where I didn't know if I was fighting or not, but I got that all in check, and then they announced the fight. So that alone was like a dream come true for me to even get a sniff at the yellow gloves on Cage Warriors.
Yeah, and put on an impressive performance as well. But obviously, I seen whenever you're walking out with the Ireland flag and all around you, it must have been unbelievable to represent your country like that.
Yes, it was class. It's just the whole experience. Getting over the wheels, we were up in the valleys. The place was beautiful. Like, it was chilled out. Got a bit of time away with my 2 coaches. Just chilling out with them, leading into the week. Just felt in a state of zen the whole time. Finally got that Irish flag draped around me and the yellow gloves on, and it was quite emotional when I first got in there. It's something that, as a fighter, and I'm sure there's so many other fighters, that you've dreamed of that moment. From you look at me in my amateur fights, I have the yellow gloves on. That was always a salute, that was just something in my mind, that I always wanted the yellow gloves with Cage Warriors, and I knew that was the next stepping stone to get to the UFC and get to these massive promotions. So once I got in there and seen the setup, and it was quite emotional for me, and then I got zoned in. Just got zoned in. Once I get the hands wrapped, I just change, take all that emotion out of it and all, and I just become just in a state of zen. So the walkout was brilliant. The fight itself was brilliant. Felt just so relaxed and calm in there the whole fight, even though it was with a guy who all he wanted was the big knockout. I just picked him apart, took the time. And then in that third round, just implemented a bit of wrestling on him.
Yeah, and do you think Cage Warriors are starting to have a more of a look over here in Belfast and stuff? Because we see the likes of Paddy McCorry and Matthew Elliott, and now yourself as well, fighting on the same cards on Cage Warriors. Yeah,
well, that was always going to come with the pathway that the goats of MMA, like Joe McCogan, they've led this amazing pathway for us, and they've showed the Irish talent. Obviously you've got down south as well. You've got loads of fighters coming through. It's just so happens we've obviously got Paul Hughes, we've got Joe, Kyle McClurkin. You have Dackie Dalton from our gym, previous guys like who have all been in Cage Warriors. Like there's good stock, so they're gonna respect their gym, and they also respect Pat and Shando. You know, they know that they aren't putting forward any fighter shouldn't be putting forward guys that are coming in to take world titles,
Yeah.
and that's exactly what we plan to do. You know.
Yeah.
So
And
no.
now Cage Warriors, or no, sorry, not Cage Warriors. We're going to Paul Hughes. You're obviously away in
Yeah.
Thailand with him there as well. I seen
Yes.
fighting against Jordan Vucenic for the featherweight title soon, or in a few months.
Yeah.
What way is it going to turn out? What way do you see it?
What way do I see it? I just see another good fight. Like to be honest, it's so I love watching them both. I just think that Paul. It's so hard to know what the other guys are going through, but I just have such belief in Paul. You know, I see his work rate and I see his mindset, and it's hard not to just believe in him. I see his skill. I know, like at that Cage Warriors level, everyone's skilled, but it's the wee small things within the fight, and I just see Paul this time getting the back. Like I still believe watching that first fight back that Paul won. Like I don't see how they give it to Vucenic. It was a close fight, and to be honest, I think that Paul will admit himself he's a far better fighter than now he is, you know, in that fight. And just looking at their fights after that, you know, Paul absolutely schooled Hendon. Hendon was winning the second round against Vucenic. He was winning until Vucenic jumped on his back. I thought Vucenic was losing the fight. Paul schooled Hendon. Had that amazing fight with Chapa. You know, it was over there in Thailand. I just think Paul's going to come in here and do the upset. But to be honest, I see it maybe being third round finish for Paul.
Yeah, and just
that'd
before
be my prediction.
Yeah, so do I. Actually, I think Paul will get done anyway. Hopefully, anyway, we'll see.
Yeah,
hopefully.
Yeah, we'll see what it is.
But before we go, I was going to say the last thing. The dream has to be the UFC, doesn't
it? That's it. That is the dream. You know, I never like to look too far ahead, but it was only maybe a year ago I went and seen Paul and Chapa. It's around this time fight in Cage Warriors, and I was like, I'm gonna have the Cage Warriors gloves on me by 2022. And even when I took the loss, I was like, fuck it, I'm still going to get this Cage Warriors is still going to happen. Like, you know, there was talk of me being on Belfast, and then guys didn't want to fight and stuff like that, and I was heartbroken with that. You know, getting the call saying that you're going to be fighting, and then getting calls saying that, you know, it's not happening actually now. That was all heartbreaking, but I just stood the path and, you know, went over and invested good money and went and trained in Thailand, and it's all paying off for me now. You know, you go from fucking zero to hero in 2 seconds, and it just shows you, you know, stay ready, take the opportunities, and great things will come.
Yeah, Sean, thank you very much, mate, for coming on. It's been
yes, mate. Thank you for having me.
Cheers, see you later.
All right, see you later, dude.
Thank you.